What's good, everyone? It's Rashad Buie back again for another episode of Ballin' with Buie, where I cover the hottest topics in sports, especially if they're OU related. Today, I want to talk about OU versus Texas Tech, which happened Monday night, and then Baylor versus Texas, which happened last night, both in men's college basketball. So we'll start with OU versus Texas Tech. Both teams played really poor, I thought. Texas Tech favored by 7.5 coming into the game because OU was out without Reeves and Alondes Williams once again due to COVID-19 protocol. But both teams, first 16 minutes of the game, shot below 30%, and the next 4 minutes, they got barely above 30%, so not that matters too much. Both teams played good on defense, I thought. I didn't think it was just them not hitting their shots. I mean, there were a couple shots that both teams could have hit in the first half that they just didn't. But both teams were playing very well on defense, making the offense work very deep into the shot clock, putting up bad shots most of the time. But like I said, there definitely were times where both teams were missing wide open looks. And 16 minutes into the first half, only one player had 2 field goals, and that was Mo Gibson for OU. Both teams didn't shoot well, so that's not really a surprising stat. Coming into the game, I thought 2 things had to happen for OU to win. One, Mac McClung had to be held below 20 points. He's been on fire the past couple games. And number 2, Harmon had to step up big once again and get 20 points. Only one of those happened. Talk about that here in a minute. In the first half, Harmon was only 1 for 6, 2 points. Ideally, that's not good whether Reeves is in the lineup or not. I mean, you got to do better than that, especially when Reeves is out and the team's looking towards you for big plays. You can't shoot 1 for 6. The leading scorer at halftime was McCullough for Texas Tech. He had 7 points. First half, OU shot 25% from the field, 1 of 10 from 3. Tech shot 34% from the field, 3 of 9 from 3, and Tech held a 7-point lead, 25-18. Biggest takeaway from the first half was, I think, Davion Harmon. I mean, you're supposed to be the guy in charge, handling the ball, running the offense. It's supposed to be flowing through you, and you weren't making things happen. You looked frantic. You didn't look like the same basketball player that I saw play against Alabama just a couple days ago. So we jump to the second half. McClung didn't get his first points until 11 minutes into the second half, and he got him at the free throw line. And if you don't know who Mac McClung is, I'd look him up. He is a baller. He's going to hit some big shots for the rest of the year, and I think in the tournament he's going to make some big plays. Tech went on an 8-0 run to go up 50-40 with about 3 minutes left in the second half, and OU would answer with a 7-0 run to cut it to 50-47 with about $1:30 left. But OU just couldn't climb back in it at that point. They didn't get very close. Tech went on to win 57-52. Looking ahead, this Saturday, OU plays Iowa State, kind of a rebound game. We're going to have our full roster, get back in the groove. Iowa State's a terrible team, one of the worst in the Big 12, so it should be an easy win, try to get back into the flow of things. But one major issue I have with OU basketball right now is Brady Manick. He is a senior. He's been in this offense for 4 years. Lon Kruger's been his head coach for 4 years. I expect some production out of him. He's averaging 10 points a game. I expect to see maybe not Buddy Hield type numbers, but I expect to see Buddy Hield type improvement. And I haven't really seen much of that, especially coming into this year. With Austin Reeves out of the lineup, and he's going to be back on Saturday against Iowa State, but with Austin Reeves out of the lineup, you were expected to score more points. Now, I understand that you had COVID issues, so you missed a couple games. You're trying to get your footing back. But that doesn't explain how you're playing on defense, because you can't guard a stick on defense, as Kyrie Irving said a couple days ago. You can't guard anything. They're dominating you in the low post. You aren't getting boards. You aren't getting assists. You aren't getting steals, blocks. I don't know what you're doing, but it's not helping the team whatsoever. All your shots are coming up short. It seems like you're just throwing shots up. You're not even in a rhythm when you do it. So we'll see if maybe Austin Reeves coming back into the lineup, he can get into more of a groove. But if not, OU's not going to make a good run in the tourney. If he can get his footing, I can see us going to the Sweet 16 maybe. And if he can't, it's going to be once again another first-round exit for University of Oklahoma. So we'll see what happens. We're going to jump to the next game. Number 2 Baylor versus 6 Texas. Baylor, I think, is the best team in the country. Arguably, you can say Gonzaga, Baylor, flip a coin, it doesn't really matter. I would go with Baylor if they were to play right now. First time 2 AP top 10 teams in Texas have played each other in college basketball, which is really surprising because it's Texas, you know. I mean, I'm sure it's happened in football plenty of times. I would imagine it happened in basketball plenty of times, but apparently not. First time. Baylor's the best three-point shooting team in the country, about 43%. They have 5 players shooting 43% or better from the three-point line, and that is insane. What do you do as a defense? You can't stop it. You can't double one player. You try to main up one player, but then there's 4 more. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not trying to figure that out. Both teams shot really well from the field, both over 50% in the first half. It was a high-scoring game. Baylor, not surprisingly, shot 7 for 13 from 3 in the first half. Andrew Jones led Texas with 15 in the first half, and Davion Mitchell led Baylor with 16. Jared Butler dropped 13, but he was in foul trouble, picked up 3 fouls. But still, Baylor had a 41-34 lead at the half, which Texas played really well. I mean, Baylor hit 7 threes, and you're only down 7 at halftime. I mean, that's pretty good. You shot very well from the field to stay in the game. We open up the second half. Texas opens up the second half on a 13-4 run. And I thought, that was going to keep Texas in it, for the majority of the second half. But that just did not turn out to be the case. But they did take their first lead 4 minutes into the second half, 47-45. But then Baylor answered 16-4 run, go right back up 61-51. And that was about it. Texas didn't really get very close after that. And they ended up losing 83-69. Baylor improves to 17-0 on the year, undefeated in conference play, obviously. But Texas, I don't think they could have played any better. They shot 55% from the field, 45% from 3. The only thing that, if I have to say they could have done better, was shoot better from the free throw line. 3 of 14, but I don't think that would have changed the outcome. I think you still get an L if you shoot 100% from the free throw line, just because Baylor is too good. The second best team in the Big 12 arguably is Texas, and Baylor just wiped them. It wasn't too close the entirety of the game. But yeah, that wraps up that game. But I do want to just hint on one NCAA women's game that happened a couple days ago. For NC State upset number 1 Louisville 74-60. I don't really watch women's sports too much, but I'm going to try and keep up a little bit better here, especially once a tourney jumps on. I'll definitely keep up with that. But the regular season, I'm going to try my best. I did see that about a week ago, Arkansas upset UConn, that's a big win. UConn is arguably maybe the best women's program right now in history. Won title after title after title. That's a big win for Arkansas. Anyways, back to NC State. It's the second time they beat a number 1 team this season. Beat South Carolina earlier in the year by double digits. Don't remember the score. But yeah, I think that wraps up this podcast. Consider subscribing, sharing. Deuces.